Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. For anyone new to the channel, nice to see you here with us. I post anime what if videos either never heard before, or reboot into a more clear audio. I present to you all, what if Deku was the legendary Super Saiyan? When given the power and holding the spirit of previous legendary Saiyans, will he still be a hero for society to use, or will he be the image and incarnation of chaos? One thing is for sure though, both sides will recognize the legendary Super Saiyan. Those who stand in his way will turn to meet their fate, for he is fate. This story is my first What If series about My Hero Academia. Read and review please. The link of the story will be in the description down below. If you like this video and want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe to see more anime What If stories. Before continuing, I suggest the viewers to watch this video from Rybread about Broly's character and backstory. I've encountered reviewers hating this version of Izuku. Deku is kind-hearted, however the power of the legendary Super Saiyan is evil and corrupt. As we've seen from Z Broly, the power influenced him during his time of weakness. Now that I've cleared somewhat the odd shift in behavior in Izuku, let's get on with the story. Ever since young Izuku Midoriya was diagnosed as quirkless, he was ridiculed as a worthless nobody. His friend, Katsuki Bakugo, insulted him, which resulted in name-calling, the most common being the name Deku. He struggled to find and fit himself in the world now filled with 80% of the people being holders of some unique quirk. His mother, although an optimistic woman, was also viewing her son's life as realistic. She knew that people without a quirk were the ones that had lived the hardest. Most quirkless ended up committing suicide. The boy only wanted to help those in need, nothing more, nothing less. Izuku, as much as he wanted to be positive, just couldn't find his peace in the world. Mostly because people reminded him of his status in the quirk society. Speaking of society, the people, although friendly towards the quirkless, didn't directly appreciate such people existing. It did make Izuku wonder what he recalled of his father. The man never appeared after he was diagnosed as quirkless. His mother told him that it was because he had to work more time to provide for the family, but Izuku knew better, as this was being played in the young man's mind. A being that looked like a sludge substance came out of the sewers at such fast-paced speed, he almost missed the boy. With an evil glint in his eyes, the villain jumped on the boy, restraining the boy from running and screaming. Just as the villain was about to kill the young boy, a man about 7 feet tall came to the rescue. After All Might stopped the villain, he proceeded to try and wake up the boy. After everything played out in canon style, Izuku asked a question that would forever change his life. I'm quirkless, I don't have a quirk. Can I be a hero and become someone like you? That question froze the number one hero, having rarely imagined encountering a quirkless person who desires to be a hero. Toshinori himself was quirkless before he received his quirk from his mentor, but wasn't going to say that to an unknown boy he just encountered. With a sigh, the number one hero decided to tell the boy a harsh truth. I'm sorry young man, but you can't be a hero without a quirk. His mind was replaying what he had just heard. His idol, All Might, also didn't believe a quirkless nobody could be a hero. Izuku was feeling something he tried so hard to cover up, his sorrow and rejection. He just couldn't understand, why would the universe pull him into such a joke? What had he ever done to receive such a penalty in life? Izuku slumped his shoulders, believing that in all reality, he was destined to be quirkless and was hopeless in the matter. All Might, seeing the outcast look on his face, was saddened to see such a heart be torn. However, there was nothing he could do. It wasn't like he could give one for all just because a kid didn't have a quirk. Going down the staircase of the rooftop, he turned one last time only to see a green silhouette with red glowing eyes standing right behind the boy. All Might blinked and the shape disappeared. Something tells him that the boy may be something special, but he shrugs it off as his mind feels pity for him. However, what he saw was no mind game, but rather a harsh truth that is to come. Another store was caught in flames as Backdraft tried to use his quirk only to have another store caught on fire as well. The other pro heroes were having any good luck. A villain made out of sludge was holding a teenage boy hostage. When everything looked to be lost for the blonde head's life, another variable came into the show. Izuku, who was standing on the sidelines, couldn't help but feel sorry for his school's bully and anger towards the heroes. With so much conviction, and courage if I do say so myself, he ran toward the villain with a bit of speed he didn't know he had. As soon as he got a foot close to the villain, the green-haired boy threw with all his effort a punch. His punch, however, was not what he expected. He expected the punch to bounce or go through the villain, but instead, his punch made a small dent in the sludge villain, shocking the audiences and heroes alike. Just as the shock appeared, it vanished as the villain composed himself and was about to explode the boy into pieces. Fortunately for the people who didn't want to watch a live gruesome scene, All Might appeared and delivered a strong Detroit smash, causing the weather to change and for the villain to be defeated. The aftermath was, of course, Izuku being scolded by the local pro heroes about running to danger and never getting involved in a life-threatening situation. Izuku, feeling the constant criticism intensifying his annoyance, decided to call it a day, only for Katsuki to throw more salt into the wound. He couldn't take it anymore. With as much control as he could muster, Izuku turned around to continue on his way back home, only to once again have another issue being All Might. Gosh damn it. Why can't they leave me alone? Izuku mentally yelled, already feeling his anger and sadness getting the best of him. I am here. All Might announced, not noticing the murderous look in Izuku's eyes. All Might says the same thing he does in canon, but one crucial fact changes this Izuku's story. That fact is what Izuku responds to All Might. Young man, you too can become a hero. All Might was expecting the boy to be either jumping with joy or crying in joy. However, neither happened as Izuku stared blankly at his once favorite hero. It was at that moment when All Might finally noticed Izuku's eyes. He saw both anger, annoyance, hatred, and most of all, sadness. Mr. All Might, Izuku said coldly, how dare you have the audacity to come to me right after my heartbroken moment? After my humiliation in front of the pros. To come right after I decided on a new path. The number one hero was stunned to hear a negative response from his fan. After all, wasn't he the kid who asked if he could become a hero even if quirkless? All Might opened his mouth to say something, but instead of saying words, he spat out saliva. He looked down only to see the boy he was about to talk to punch him square in the stomach. A boy about 15 years old was strong enough to hurt him. He fell on one knee, breathing heavily, unexpecting a strong punch, much less one from such a thin child. He turned towards the boy only to see him nowhere away. Where did he go? Better yet, how was he so strong and so fast? I thought he said he was quirkless. All Might said. Now getting up from the ground, the symbol of peace, seeing as no one was around, gave a huge jump where he was standing, seemingly flying in the air. Izuku came back home in haste, not caring to even announce to his mother his arrival. He enters his room, hoping for everything to end. Slamming the door, he took a long exaggerated sigh. His room was full of the man's face, from his walls to his blanket. He didn't want to see the man's face but had nowhere to look because his entire room was dedicated to that man. His smile irritated the boy so much. He wanted to rip that smile off his face, angered to be reminded what his idol was supposed to be. The symbol of peace? Izuku's iris flashed lime. He was angry. No, he was beyond angry. I'll show them. I'll show all of them. Izuku's iris and pupils disappeared, revealing now menacing white eyes. I will end you. All Might. 1 month later. It's been a month since he last saw All Might, and Izuku hasn't lost his now growing grudge against the man. He's been constantly training every day to overcome so that he could make a statement against the Quirk Society. Izuku did push-ups, sit-ups, a 2-kilometer run, and some jumping jacks. Although it wasn't much, it was considered more than average for a person like himself who has very little muscle. By the end of the month, his power level was already considered mid-superhuman strength. When powering up to full power, his power level was considered to far surpass the planetary level. Meaning if he so wanted to, he could blow up the moon and the earth. Izuku couldn't wait to humiliate All Might in front of live television with thousands if not hundreds of thousands of people watching on with true recognition. After some time training, he called it a day and watched home, expecting a harder exercise regimen to help his ambitions in the future. As he noticed in the corner of his eye something dark heading towards him at blinding speed. Izuku could dodge if he wanted to, but he was curious to know who dared to grab him. A purple mist began to manifest before his eyes, revealing to be some sort of a person with no apparent body. Izuku knew better and assumed that the real body was inside the mist. Izuku Midoriya, the mist said, staring with his bright yellow eyes. Yes, who's asking? Izuku said, raising an eyebrow, my master requires your presence. Do you wish to come peaceful? Or do you require brute force, humph, as if you could? He snarled. Fine, I'll come to your stupid boy band. Just as he finished those words, he was warped away with the purple mist. The two landed on what seemed like an old bar. Standing up, he noticed the other person in the room is of the age of a young adult. Izuku didn't know why, but there was this creepy aura around the man. Something dark. The man turned around, revealing himself to be a pale blue hair man with crimson red eyes. The most noticeable features were the hands hanging around his body. Just as Izuku was about to comment on the man's facial, the man before him spoke, so you're the NPC master talked about. You don't seem like much. Maybe I should just expose you instead, who knows, maybe that will do the world a favor. Izuku's heard of many insults before, one being Bakugo calling him Deku, but for this guy to make an impression this bold means the guy was either extremely strong or incredibly stupid as fuck. Suddenly, before Izuku could think of an answer, his mouth moved on its own. You insect, you dare belittle me. The man before was stunned for a few seconds before his eyes narrowed dangerously. Insect? Insect? Since you like to trash talk me, how about we end this conversation with a poof? Just as hands were about to be thrown, a monitor in the far left corner spoke. Now, you two, we shouldn't be fighting. After all, I did send Kurojiri to bring the boy to me, didn't I? The man with hands turns to the monitor with a skeptical look, but master, you can clearly see he doesn't want to cooperate with us. Why spare him another second here? Because Shigaraki, this young man can be useful to us. Imagine, a boy with his kind of potential fighting All Might for us, wouldn't you want that? But the Nomus were created to kill All Might, yes. But imagine a boy doing the job for us. Izuku, hearing the monitor talk about using him to defeat All Might, made him feel both excited and offended. He was excited that he could defeat the symbol of peace sooner than expected, but also offended because these people wanted to use him for their own personal benefits. Now then, Izuku, are you interested in the position being the one to end All Might? End All Might? Izuku said, confused, never thinking about actually ending All Might's life. Why yes, young Midoriya. The monitor said, sounding like he was smiling inside the monitor. You see, the one known as All Might isn't actually a true representation of being called symbol of peace. He discourages those who are quirkless just so he could remain the number one hero. What? Izuku said, not understanding what he was hearing. Wait, how can I trust what you say to be true? He didn't know why or how, but Izuku felt a slight chill on his back. Well, young Izuku, I'll happily tell you that I know this because All Might doesn't want anyone to know this. You see, All Might always smiles because of all the wealth and glory he receives constantly. You're wrong. He told me that the reason he smiles is to reassure people that they'll be safe under his protection. Izuku retorted, forgetting his anger against the man. Oh? So you've met the hero. Tell me, did he give you an excuse about an injury on the left side of his body? Yes, the monitor laughed, seemingly hearing the event before him very amusing. Ha ha. If the injury was as bad as he said it was, shouldn't he have found someone who could heal it? He said that there wasn't anyone with the quirk to help heal his wound and that the injury was reducing his time in his buff form. Midoriya, what if I told you that everything you were taught was a lie? A lie? How can everything I know be a lie? Izuku said, snarling at the monitor before him, not believing that last statement. Let me explain this in a simple way in one question. Have you ever wondered or asked your mother how you were so potentially strong? His question caught Izuku off guard. He had noticed the potential he had when training, but never bothered to ask his mother since he focused on training rather than his surroundings. Now mentioning his mother, he almost never spoke to his mother. It clicked to him, why was this man on the other side of the monitor even talking about his mother? Izuku stared at the monitor intensively and asked the big question in his mind, what's my mother got to do with this? There was a deathly silence in the room when suddenly the monitor spoke, I know the truth about where and how you got your powers. I even know a fact about Inko Midoriya that you didn't know. 4 months later. It happened too quickly for All Might to understand the situation he found himself in. A few hours back he received a phone call about some criminal activity near some apartments in Mizudafu. At first, All Might regarded the situation to be a minor burglary or maybe even just some thugs trying to make a name for themselves. Regardless, he was still in need of the activity, so he headed toward the direction he thought was Mizutofu. He had it close to the apartment and asked the closest police officer about the situation. The officer explained to him how there was an unknown person holding everyone in the building hostage. Everyone waited to see what the number hero would do, most specifically the fans. All Might thought up a plan to disarm the person holding everyone hostage and later found out that the person holding everyone hostage was on the top floor of the apartment. Just as he was about to pull his plan into action, the most horrifying thing happened before his eyes. The building exploded into thousands of pieces, littering the entire area with either the apartment's materials or scattered body corpses. All Might could do was stare at the most gruesome event he'd ever seen in his time as a pro hero. Out of the smoke, a green silhouette flew away from the crime scene, making everyone question what came out. All Might didn't question but rather concluded the green silhouette was the one that killed all those innocent lives. The media came rushing toward All Might questioning why he hadn't done anything to save those people, but before All Might could say a word, one by one, the police unit vehicles were blown into pieces, killing many in the process. After the two events, it was concluded that over 100 people were either dead or seriously injured. Not only was the situation in cold blood, but what made things worse for the media was the fact that All Might was there in the middle of both events. Now with All Might, he was trying to resolve both situations with the people and officials, but the people were criticizing All Might, saying that he should have come faster to the situation and not assumed every crime to be a low-level crime. For that, All Might apologized sincerely and promised to find the suspect to put the criminal in jail. I do not care how long it takes me, but I promise to all of Japan, I will find this criminal. All Might declared, determined to find this person with everything he had, but little did All Might know, it would actually take him to be at least 1,000 times stronger to defeat this new foe. 2 months after the previous chapter. Since the incident in Masutofu, many pro heroes would come to the city to investigate and find the villain responsible for such chaos. However, even when going underground, gangs or thugs, no one knew who the unknown individual was. Many gave up because they said that the case was a lost cause. Eraserhead, seeing those give up easily, considered those unworthy of being called a hero, and a disgrace to the hero's name. Speaking of Eraserhead, the underground hero was lurking in the shadows of night, looking for any sort of trouble. He knew of the event that occurred in Mizutofu because he was actually there when shit happened. Since then, Eraserhead searched with all his strength and spirit to find this mysterious person. Though it was much easier said than done, from alley to alley, there was nothing important, besides some thugs who wanted to make themselves names. He did find one group, in particular, to be extremely suspicious. 10 people were going to an alleyway with nothing but clothes on their backs. Now Aizawa saw some stuff in his time as a hero, but to see those 10 look around ever so frequently, made the Eraser hero see them too suspicious. But there was something about them that also screamed danger. With caution, he descended on them quietly, not wanting to alert them. Before he was going to make his move, one of the 10 spoke. So, what's this about a league of villains? The man was about average height with blue hair, wearing a long trench coat. The person next to him turned to him with a bored look on his face. He wore street clothes, but his most obvious features were the stitches around his jaw and arms. Honestly, I wouldn't really even care what this league of villains is anyways. I think they're just some wannabes, maybe, though who knows. Dabi, the man said, now reveal the other person's name. Oh, so you know my name? Well, it isn't nice to know someone's name without introducing yourself, mysterious man. Dabi said, leaking a bit of amusement in his voice. The man with the trench coat turned to him, before turning back. The name's Soba Kujisaki, kid. Oh, so here I am talking to a former member of the Instant Villains. Quiet, you two. Do you want us to get caught here? A man with wood covered up with wood said, glaring intensively at the duo. If I was allowed to, I'd use my tentacle to bitch slap both of you for your stupidity. There's no need to do that, Mitsuki. A woman said, wearing a mushroom as a hat. The now named Mitsuki only growled. Now you too. Although I am nothing like Mitsuki, her smile turned dark as if she were a demon. I will shut you up if you do not cooperate. Both said males only gulped in fear. If I were you too, I'd rather not test her. She can be scary when angered, said a blonde head with metallic hands. Oh come on, Daidara-senpai, she's not that scary, said a black-haired man with a stupid grin on his face. The blondie looked at the black-haired man with an "Are you serious" look. "What?" he said, not understanding how stupid his comment was. "Remind me why I haven't tried to kill you, because Akiko-senpai said so," Toby said cheerfully. If only Toby noticed the horror in Deidara's eyes, would he have at least a hint of what shit Akiko had actually said to him? Deidara turns towards the mushroom woman only to see a mushroom in hand and Akiko smiling devilishly at him. Everyone, even Aizawa, who was still eavesdropping on the 10, shivered at what the woman had actually intended for the young man. Everyone except Toby, of course. The other 4 remaining 9 stayed quiet, not wanting to get themselves sucked in the now disturbing situation. Aizawa, believing he's heard more than necessary, used his cloth to throw a few trash cans at the unexpecting villains. Or so he thought. A man that looked like a whale used his hypertonic waves to stop the trash cans from slamming into them. Eraserhead, seeing that his plan failed, decided to move to a different position, but found himself stuck to the ground. Looking down, he noticed a tentacle of wood wrapped around his foot. "Damn it, they must have known I was here, so, who's the new guy?" A blondie said, grabbing a hammer out of nowhere. "It's the eraser hero, Eraserhead." Another woman said, narrowing her eyes at the hero. The last person just looked intensively at Eraserhead. Not bothering to even comment more on the situation, Aizawa was in a tough spot. He was always known for his quickness and silence, but now since he's been caught and surrounded by 9 individuals, he has to find a way to come out of this alive. "Who are you all, and what do you know about the one involved with the hostage of Mizu?" Aizawa demanded. "Oh, so you think you're one to interrogate us even though you're the one caught by us," Deidara said, smirking arrogantly at the hero. "Oh, and the one that was involved in the hostage of Mizu? Sorry, but we don't know dash. Hey Deidara-senpai, wasn't it Izuku-kun who blew up those apartments 2 months ago?" Toby said innocently. Not noticing the massive tick mark on Deidara's forehead. "Toby, you idiot. We weren't supposed to talk about Izuku," Deidara yelled while using some sort of big head form. Sorry Deidara-senpai," Toby said, bowing rapidly at his partner, Izuku. Aizawa mentally noted. He must be the one involved in the Mizu incident. "I'll need to milk the information out of them, which means I can't let them escape." Eraserhead took out a razor and cut himself out of the wooden tentacle, landing gracefully on the concrete ground. "Now," Eraserhead said before his eyes turned menacing red. "You with the childish attitude, you're coming with me, go to hell," Deidara said, rocketing himself from his position toward the eraser hero. Aizawa, noticing his opponent coming in great speed, turned his gaze to Deidara's gaze, temporarily erasing his quirk. Before Deidara could touch the ground, the quiet man from earlier lifted his arm up, causing a ripple to appear and absorb Deidara. After absorbing the rocket user, he turns his arm in a different direction and forms another ripple, dropping Deidara in the process. He seems to have some sort of absorbing quirk. I need to be cautious around him, Aizawa thought, jumping around the area to confuse the 8. His efforts were futile, however, when the mushroom woman used her quirk, which covered the entire area with mushrooms of all shapes and sizes. The most astonishing fact was that the mushrooms were glowing. Revealing exactly where he was, the unknown woman that glared at him earlier came rushing in, followed by the blonde man with the massive hammer. Engaging in the fight, Eraserhead dodges their punches and kicks fairly easily. Even the massive hammer was avoidable, though the huge crater caused by the massive hammer didn't sit well with the underground hero. Just as Eraserhead was about to strike the woman with his cloth, her body retracted on itself just like in a sea turtle manner. The small moment of being caught stunned distracted the hero long enough for the blonde man to slam his hammer into Aizawa's side. Eraserhead coughed up some blood as soon as his body hit the hard brick wall. He tried to get out of the dent, but couldn't. Assuming the worst, he tried to think of something quick. However, as fate would have it, the man with blue hair crossed his arms, and just like in a Wolverine gesture, metal spikes came out of his fist. He ran toward the hero to finish the hero off, but before he could even give the finishing blows, he suddenly heard someone yell out something, "Power!" A powerful punch was delivered on the spike user's jaw, immediately causing the man to go unconscious. Standing over the unconscious body, a young man with blonde hair and a white suit that read Lemillion stood proudly in front of the 9 before him. Aizawa, however, knew the newcomer as his former student 2 years ago. "Mirio, what the hell are you doing here?" he demanded. The said young man just gave the eraser head a cheeky smile, not worrying in the slightest. It's nice to see you too, sensei. Do you need help? You know damn well I'm going to give you one hell of an earful, however, I do appreciate the help. The blonde soon-to-be hero smirked. Already used to Aizawa's antics, Eraserhead stood next to Mirio, planning his next move against the villains. Mirio just smiled like an idiot, but inside was also planning to end the fight as quickly as possible. The villains activated their quirk, preparing for a one last stand against the two. What everyone failed to notice was the disappearance of a certain cremation quirk user. The two sides engaged in a fearsome battle, only for the tables to turn due to Mirio's permeation quirk. The battle was long and not so hard, but the heroes managed to win with only a few bruises compared to the many the villains had. Aizawa walked slowly toward the childish black-haired man, who surprisingly had the same quirk as Mirio, and looked at the now bruised man, with red glowing eyes, erasing his quirk. His appearance didn't help the man-child's nerves. Aizawa could have sworn he heard the man swear under his breath for taking another scary assignment. With all the authority he could muster, Aizawa said one word, talk. Alright, I'll talk. Just, please don't hit me anymore. Toby said, visibly showing fear in his eyes. Good, now tell me, who is this Izuku you've talked about? Toby closed his eyes before opening them again, but now showing a serious side Aizawa had yet to see. Izuku was the one who blew up the apartments in Mizudafu because of some personal issue he had with a certain someone. Sad honestly, he found out something about himself that by all honestly shouldn't have. I am certain, however, Izuku was not one to test. He is rather one with such an evolving mind. He is twisted and has a big grudge against All Might. One of the reasons why he caused such an incident was an honor for All Might to witness. If you really want to stop him, look for the color green. UA entrance exam. Katsuki, you better get your butt down right or else shut it you old hag. I'll be down soon. Katsuki was surprisingly overwhelmed, considering the fact that he's always been saying how he'd go to UA and become the greatest and richest #1 hero. Though indeed a huge dream, those dreams were nothing compared to the news he received from the Midoriya residence. His childhood best friend, Izuku, never came to school, a red flag in Katsuki's opinion. A few months after Izuku's disappearance, he saw the horrendous breaking news live before hundreds of thousands of people. Katsuki had felt something that he never felt in his life. He was worried. The blonde arrogant brat with a massive stick up his ass was worried for his friend. His quirkless friend. Katsuki, without noticing it, walked closer to the television, still not believing what he was hearing. Izuku, his quirkless childhood friend, was killed by this unknown villain. He had clenched his teeth together, anger like never before, burning hatred against the unknown villain who had done such a thing. He will pay. But before that day ever comes, he needs to pass the entrance exam first. He got his bag and headed downstairs, ready to endure his nagging mother. The walk to UA was a tense silence. Ironic considering the fact that Katsuki was always a loud arrogant type. He was after all arrogant because of the mass praise he received as a young kid during his preschool year. Though his parents never cared if he was strong or not, they only cared for his well-being. Blinded by his pride, he shoved his morals away, preferring the glory and attention he could get as the #1 hero. To become the most popular hero. To become the next #1 hero. To surpass his idol, the symbol of peace, All Might. His daydreaming came to an end when realized his arrival at the UA front entrance. With a final sigh, he entered what he believed to be his first step into becoming the next #1 hero, but most importantly, to get revenge on Izuku's murderer. Walking toward the gates, he noticed a lot of people, most likely extras, believing they had a chance to be in the same school as him. There were students ranging from weird-ass haircuts to someone who had 6 arms attached, though Katsuki didn't give any of them a second glance. He noticed something while walking. He could have sworn he saw Izuku walking toward UA with his usual stupid grin, only to trip on his feet. Katsuki blinked and saw no one. Well, except some brown-haired girl around Izuku's height walking by the spot he thought he saw Izuku. Man, he might as well be insane. In the UA examination area, Bakugo's POV. Well, that was something at least. The exam was, for the most part, so annoying as crap. There was no challenge in the exam whatsoever. The written exam was so easy, I felt like even the damn nerd could easily pass this crappy test. the outdoor test was so awesome. Blowing up the heavily built, extremely expensive robots was definitely my specialty in the art of complete destruction. They had no chance of ever beating me, the next #1 hero. It makes me wonder if the other wannabes could even get close to my level of being a badass. They possibly have no chance to even compare themselves with me, considering I'm the one who was beating the crap out of these robots' asses, just as I was about to blow up another robot to get my 73rd point. A giant robot came out of nowhere. I was about to fight it but remembered that it had no sort of value, so I left. Before I could take my 5th step, I heard a girl cry out in pain. I slowly looked back only to see that girl that passed through the illusion I saw in the morning. For a moment I saw Izuku in the place of hers. With a grunt, I turned around to save the round face from being crushed by the 0-pointer. I passed by 4 Eyes, who gave me that "what are you doing" look. Scowling, I grabbed 4 Eyes with me toward the giant robot. He was trying to resist, but I told him as nicely as I could what I needed him for. "Alright, you damn 4 Eyes, I need you to run and get the round face while I beat the crap out of the 0-pointer. Do I make myself clear? The bastard looked at me as if he didn't understand what I was saying, which infuriated me to no end. Damn it, just get her while I distract the fucking robot. Suddenly he understood what I was trying to say, because after I said that, he rocketed himself toward her. Smiling madly, I propel myself at the robot, excited to blow something up. Dodging to the left, I managed to avoid the robot's giant metallic arm. And with all my sweat on my right arm, I activated my quirk right in front of the giant robot's face, destroying its head in the process. I landed in front of the robot with my back facing the robot with a pose I assumed was a badass one. Looking in front of me, I noticed everyone's surprised look. Amused, I shouted out to them about how much of a strong hero I was and how no one was going to be like him. Looking towards my left, I noticed 4 Eyes holding the round-faced girl bridal style. With a slight bow from his head, he went to find a medic for the round-faced girl. Today was a good day. Unknown location, no one's POV. Master, is the Nomu meant to kill All Might ready to be used? I really want to have some fun with it. Yes, Tamira, it is ready. Have you already planned when you wish to attack All Might? Yes, I plan to attack All Might in the USJ building, right across UA High. Even our spy says that the USJ is the perfect place to find and kill All Might. I thought it was my job to kill All Might. Out of the darkness came out a green-haired boy, revealing his muscular chest, and wearing white shorts. The said greenhead was none other than Izuku Midoriya, the League's former new member. Ever since Izuku's been with the League, he's been growing stronger and stronger. His strength also converted his mental state into what can only be imagined as insanity. The once smart, kind boy turned into the embodiment of madness. Some members of the League tried to put him in his place, but Izuku in one shift motion explained to them why he is to be feared. So far only 20 bodies were found dead with either their heads blown off or a gaping hole in their chest. Since then, no one has ever defined Izuku, except of course All for One and Tamira. All for One being obviously the hidden leader of the League, and Tamira because he believed that the world was entitled to him. Midoriya, what are you doing here? Tamira said, annoyed that the overpowered brat was here. Izuku turned towards the monitor that was illuminating the dark and asked All for One a request. Sir, if I may ask, why send Tamira with the Nomu and the low-level thugs when you could just send me to end their miserable lives? Izuku couldn't see it, but All for One was smiling madly behind the monitor. Oh, young Midoriya, it seems you two have gotten very arrogant due to your strength. Though I may consider your plan only as a last resort. We don't want to show them our trump card now, do we? I guess you're right, Izuku said, scowling at the fact he couldn't let loose his inner demon until it was the last resort. Good, now Tamira. Said person looking at the monitor, I want you to attack the UA with as many thugs as you can. Run along before Izuku here decides to kill the rest of them. Hey, fine, I'll go get them ready. He left saying his farewell. Izuku stayed, silently waiting for something. All for One took the time to examine the boy and asked the question that's been on his mind since after the boy massacred Masudafu. So young Midoriya, what did you dream about this time? Izuku stayed quiet for another few seconds before he responded, I keep hearing the same word over and over again in my mind. And what, if I may ask, was the word? Izuku turns to look at the monitor with insanity all over his face. That word. That word kept him awake all night. That word, no, that name that wouldn't allow him to sleep. That name makes his blood boil like no other. That name, his aura exploded, shaking the entire building in the process. Just as the shaking happened, it stopped. Izuku's aura vanished, as well as his angry temper. Behind the other side of the monitor, All for One had a controller in hand, pressing a big red button labeled Tame. Now, Izuku, don't get all fired up while we're still talking. Unknown location, Shigaraki's POV. I just got out of the hideout just in time, before the building could start shaking. Holy shit! What was Master even thinking when he decided to recruit the kid? He's like a force of nature. Scratch that, he's like those unbeatable bosses in video games that only die if you cheat. After the shaking ended, I walked away from the bar, Master's monitor still inside, pondering what became of the boy. On one hand, he was the perfect killing machine. On the other hand, he was very dangerous, much like a threat to his new vision of the world. A world where people could do whatever they want to do and get away with it. Someone like Izuku would only create a world, not of disorder, but something even worse than chaos. If my vision of the world is wrong, then what's their view on Izuku's? No matter, when the time is ready, I'll have to dispose of him before he could be considered another player in my world. In my game. Outside of USJ, Eraserhead's POV. We arrived outside of the USJ with little to no difficulties, shut at 4 eyes. I can say whatever the hell I want to say, me and my big mouth, I sighed, annoyed senselessly by my new troublemaking children. Why couldn't I have students who aren't as troublesome as these kids? Anyways, let's get this over with so I can get back and sleep in my sleeping bag, alright? When we enter, please, with all the maturity inside of yourselves, pay attention to our speaker. I'm not in a mood to play around right now. Hearing their instructor's order, they automatically enter the USJ building, unaware of both the training and special visitors. Aizawa, for the meantime, watches on as his students enter the building. It made him think about what happened a few months back after the Mizutofu incident. Flashback. Aizawa walked slowly toward the childish black-haired man, who surprisingly had the same quirk as Mirio, and looked at the now bruised man, with red glowing eyes, erasing his quirk. His appearance didn't help the man-child's nerves. Aizawa could have sworn he heard the man swear under his breath for taking another scary assignment. With all the authority he could muster, Aizawa said one word, talk. Alright, I'll talk. Just, please don't hit me anymore. Toby said, visibly showing fear in his eyes. Good, now tell me, who is this Izuku you've talked about? Toby closed his eyes before opening them again, but now showing a serious side Aizawa had yet to see. Izuku was the one who blew up the apartments in Mizutofu because of some personal issue he had with a certain someone. Sad honestly, he found out something about himself that by all honestly shouldn't have. I am certain, however, Izuku is not one to test. He is rather one with such an evolving mind. He is twisted and has a big grudge against All Might. One of the reasons why he caused such an incident was an honor for All Might to witness. If you really want to stop him, look for the color green. Flashback end. What the hell did he mean when referring to the color green? It seems irrelevant, but relevant at the same time. Could the reference of the color be some code? No, that wouldn't make sense. Maybe an alias? Damn it, why could that man-child tell me? He took a small breath and exhaled. This case was still troublesome to solve. Before entering the USJ, the Space Hero, 13 greeted the newcomer students. Although wearing a space helmet, 13's voice was an indication that he or she was in a good mood. Wait, I've known 13 for a while, but I've yet to know what gender 13 is. 13. I'm such a big fan. Uraraka said with her usual bubbly attitude, happy to hear another fan. 13 thanked her. Now, let's go inside and work our hardest to make you all great heroes in the future. When the students entered, they were greeted with a sight. Rescue training ranging from activities from mountain training to shipwreck training. While the students continued to stare with excitement, I decided to ask 13 the big questions. 13, where's All Might? He was supposed to be here with us? About that. He might have done too much hero work before coming here. 13 said, sticking 3 fingers out. Sigh, of course he would do some hero work even though he has other priorities to attain. Let's see. Before we begin, let me say one thing. Oh. Or 2, or 3. Or 4. 5. 6. 7. The student's sweat dropped. the number is still increasing. As you all may know, my quirk is called Black Hole. I can suck anything and turn it to dust, 13 said, explaining to them the base info about the quirk. In a superhuman society, personal quirks have been certified and stringently regulated, so that doesn't seem to be a problem at first glance. However, please do not forget that there are many quirks that can easily kill you with one wrong step. With Aizawa's physical fitness test, you found out about the possibility of your own hidden powers, and with All Might's person-to-person combat training, I think you have experienced the danger of using those powers against others. This class is a fresh start. You shall learn how to use your quirk to save people's lives. You do not have powers so you can harm others. I hope you leave here with the understanding that you have the power in order to help others. That is all. Thank you for listening. 13 said, finishing the speech with a bow. Alright, now first dash. Before I could finish my sentence, the lights lighting up the room began to flicker on and off, until eventually, they turned off completely. In the middle of the USJ, a purple mist appeared. Out of the mist, a man with teal hair and hands covering his body came out. Following him, multiple thugs with unique quirks came out. The mist dissolved, revealing the one creating the mist to be a mist-like person. I widened my eyes in horror. 13, protect the students, right? 13 replied. No one's POV. I don't see All Might. Do you think he'll appear if we greet him with the bodies of everyone here, Kurogiri? Shigaraki said, releasing his bloodlust towards the students and faculty of UA. Perhaps it will. Should I bring in Nomu? You can't beat a level if you don't give it your all. Now can you? Very well, Master Shigaraki. A huge person came out of the mist with black skin and many scars. His brain was exposed on the top of his head with his two large eyes on its side. He had a bird-like beak as a mouth. The said person looked like a monster. When Aizawa measured up the newcomer, he found the person to be bigger and stronger like All Might. This guy, he must have brought him here to fight All Might. But since All Might's not here, this may become a massacre. Aizawa thought, not prepared to fight a potential major threat after his students' first week of becoming UA students. Everyone, run. Get out of here. Those are real villains. Emphasizing the word real as a life-threatening situation they were in. Wait, Eraserhead, what about the trespasser sensors? They didn't go off. 13 reminded the underground hero, they must have someone with a quirk disturbing the sensors. Though, that wouldn't matter much right now. Aizawa said, looking back at the students. First, we need to evacuate the students, right? Okay, I'll buy you some time. And with that, Aizawa jumped down. Descending from the air. Some of the villains with long-range quirk turned to shoot bullets at the pro hero, but to no avail as Eraserhead momentarily erased their quirk. With his bending cloth, he grabbed two villains and slammed them together, knocking them unconscious. The UA students were amazed by their homeroom teacher's skills in combat, having never thought he was this efficient. Alright you guys, we need to leave the perimeter. 13 said, snapping them out of their momentary shock. Right. The one students replied. Just as they were near the exit, a purple mist appeared in front of them as it grew in size. I'm sorry, but I can't let any of you get away, Kurogiri said as he blocked their path. Damn it, we were so close. 13 cursed under her breath. I assume it is rude for us to not introduce ourselves, Kurogiri said with what sounded like a formal tone. Greetings to you all. We are the League of Villains. It may be presumptuous of us, but we have invited ourselves into the UA High School in order to have the symbol of peace. All Might, take his last breath. Hearing the motives, 13 could only narrow her eyes at the still unknown entity, though I was under the impression that All Might was supposed to be here. Was there some sort of change? No matter. No one will ever find out, except some corpses. Just as Kurogiri was about to attack, Bakugo and Kirishima were 2 steps faster, blasting themselves to the warp villain. 13, who was about to use her black hole quirk, stopped abruptly, clearly not expecting new UA students to rush into an unknown fight. Did you consider that you'd got beaten by us before you did it? Kirishima yelled, trying to taunt the warp villain. When the smoke cleared, Kurogiri was revealed to not have a single scratch on him. Shocking the entire class, the villain noticed how much of a sitting duck they were and attacked. 13, noticing the danger, warned the 2 boys to get out of the way. Having none of it, Kirigiri scattered all the students across the entire USJ, having some sort of torture waiting for them at the other side.